And welcome everyone. Welcome. We're just getting the stream started, so thanks everyone for popping in as I start to see people pile into the room. Great to have you here. Thank you everybody. Hello. And let me just refresh one of these windows here, and we should be ready to go. All right. Hey Victoria, how's it going? Come on, window. There you go. This window's taking forever to load. All right, here we go. All right. Looks like we got a quorum now. We got a happy crowd of people. Let's see. Wow, lots of people piling in. So, hey, Dave Clayton, what's going on? Renee, the names are popping by faster than I can read them. Joyce, Radic. See, Pauline, Renee, Sebastian, hello. And on this set of users, we have Marty and Joe and Karima and John. And if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, I apologize. But hello, Christina, and everyone that's popping in. So looks like you guys either like this topic or it's just coincidence that so many people are popping into this one. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and kick things off and get it started. So today we're going to take a look at some ways to automate Photoshop. And what that means is that while Photoshop is a great tool for doing design and photo manipulation and retouching and all kinds of things where you're building something once, it's also used in production environments where you're doing the same things over and over again. And even if you're building art, there are some times where you want to apply the same techniques that are multiple steps, and you want to do those over and over again. So that's where the automation part comes in. So it could be something simple as automating. For example, I have actions set up to duplicate the layer, switch to a blending mode, switch to a tool, so that I can begin my dodging and burning. So, I use that action all the time, no matter what the picture is. If I'm gonna dodge and burn, I use that action. Or it could be something as more sophisticated, like exporting out multiple sizes of an image in multiple file formats. So that's another form of automation. So lots of automation possibilities here. Hey, Jason Levine's in the chat on YouTube. Hey Jason, welcome. You guys should follow Jason if you're on YouTube. You can click right on his name and subscribe to his channel as well. And Jason regularly streams the video products. I had a guy on my Facebook page today saying, hey, the other day you did a live stream on After Effects and I can't find it. And I responded, no, I didn't, because I didn't do one on After Effects. I don't think I've ever live streamed After Effects, so it wasn't me. But it might have been Jason, so go ahead and check out Jason's page. And hello everyone, if I missed your name in the chat, shout out generally to everyone that's here. And let's go ahead and jump in. I kind of explained what we're going to be talking about. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. So I'm going to switch over to my computer. And I've got Photoshop open. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to the Actions panel. And in the Actions panel, I'm just going to go ahead and tear it off so that way I don't have to keep opening and closing it for some other things I'm going to be doing. Now, of course, I've got it extended, which doesn't have to be that long, but we're going to keep it long. And before I go any further, there's one thing that people, when they see my Actions palette under normal conditions, they're saying, how did you do that? Like, how did you get your Actions panel to look that way? Is there some plugin for that or whatever? And what they're referring to is I normally have my either my Terry's actions showing or my retouching actions showing. Those are usually the ones I'm working on. And the way they work right now is I'd have to click on an action and then click the play button to have that action perform whatever task it's going to do. I don't like 2 clicks when I can get away with 1. So I normally have my Actions panel in button mode. So this is your first tip. You can go to button mode, and then that will switch all your actions. There are no more drop downs, no more click to play. When you click on that action, it plays that action. So normally I'm in that mode when I'm working, when I'm not showing how to do actions. because this is the fastest way. And also you can color code your actions. So for example, red for remove red eyes. I can go, when I'm looking for that action, I don't have to look down the list. I go right to the one that's red between the two, and I know it's that one. Dodge and burn, I made that one blue because again, just to distinguish it, because I'm using that one over and over and over again. So as you can see, this look might be the way you want to go after you learn how to make actions. So I'm going to switch it off for now, turn off button mode, go back to the list, and we're just going to work in the group that I have called live stream. And of course, you can make your own groups of actions as well. Just like I made one for retouching, I made one called Terry's Actions. I believe you get a default set of actions, so you probably have, if you haven't created any other ones, you have this one folder called Default Actions, and it's got some default actions in it, which some are okay, some are really good, some are not so good. Just depends on what the action is. All right, let's get an image open. There's a few different ones I want to work with here. Let's go over here and let's open up, we're going to open up beach shot number 1. All right, so let's say I want to do something to this photo. I want to create an action for it, and I want to create an action that puts my logo in the lower left corner. I want to watermark it. But I not only want to put my logo in the lower left corner, I want to put my logo in the lower left corner, I want to get it a certain size, I want to lower the opacity, and then when I'm done, I want to flatten. Let's say I want to flatten the image. Typically I wouldn't do that, but let's say I do. All right, so I don't want to have to do all of those steps manually every single time. I want my logo in the lower left-hand corner. Now, as a Lightroom user, Lightroom can do that automatically. That's one of Lightroom's features, is that it can watermark your images when you export them out. But if I need to do it in Photoshop and I'm not in Lightroom, then I need to do it manually. So let's go ahead and click on the live stream collection or folder of actions, because that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to go ahead down here at the bottom of the panel where I'm going to just click Create a New Action. So when I click the Create New Action, it's going to bring up this dialog. It's going to ask me, what do I want to call the action? I'm going to call it TW Stamp Lower Left. So that's where it's going to put it. Where do I want to put it? I want to put it in that same live stream folder. Do I want a function key assigned to it? This is kind of nice too. So you can hit F5 and it will always do that action. I normally don't do function keys, but you can. And the reason I don't normally do function keys is because I don't want it taken away from another key that does something else. But if you did, you can say Shift F5 or Command F5. In PC, that would be Control F5. So you can still use your function keys for what they were originally intended for, but still have this alternate use for running your actions. But again, I don't use the keyboard for that, but you could. And here's where you put the color in. So that's how I made the one blue and the other one red, just by picking a color. So we're not going to pick a color. We're just going to do the name, where it goes, and that's it. Now, you notice that the button says record. That's because it's like Photoshop's, I know some of you are too young for this, it's like Photoshop's built-in tape recorder or Photoshop's built-in DVR. Let's put it that way. All right, so if I click record, it is now sitting here waiting for me to do whatever it is I want it to remember to do. Now the good thing is, unlike a tape recorder, it's not recording this dead space, this dead time where I'm not doing anything. It only records the actual steps. So if I sit here for 10 minutes explaining it and then do a step, it's not going to wait 10 minutes to play the step. So that's the good thing. You don't have to wait. It doesn't wait on you. It will just perform them as fast as your computer can. So first step, File, Place. And I'm going to go ahead and find the image that I want to place. All right, the image I want to place is my stamp, and there it is. So it's a ping file. I'm just going to go ahead and place it. And it's still not recording it because I haven't actually put it where I want it to do, and I haven't committed to it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it down, and then we'll go ahead and enter. And there it is. So notice the minute I entered, that's when it recorded that step. It's not recording anything else until you actually do it. So again, I'm sitting here explaining between the steps and it's not really doing anything. Now the next thing I want to do is lower the opacity of it. And this is a kind of a tip for recording actions, because it will record mouse movements when you're controlling something. And so if I go to the slider and I try and slide it down to 70% and I miss and I go 65 and then I go back up to 70 or whatever, it may, depending on how you do it, it may record all those interim steps. So what I like to do when I'm recording an action is be as precise as I can, so that I'm not, so it's not having to record a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. So what I like to do is, instead of me trying to do it with a slider, I'm just going to go in and type 70% and enter. That way it will record that set current layer to 70% opacity without it going 68, 72, whatever. Even though it would do it pretty quick, it's just a waste of steps. All right, so now that we got that in place, if that's all I need to do, I could stop here, or I could go further. Like I said, I wanted to do one where I actually flattened it. So let's say that I want to go to the layers panel, and I could either use a keyboard shortcut, or I could just go in and say flatten image. All right, so that'll flatten it down, and then again, it recorded that step. So I can just keep going. If I want to close the image now and save it, then I can click close and save, and it will do that step as well. So it will do all the steps that I tell it to do until I say stop recording. How do I say stop recording? Press the stop button down here at the bottom. So that's the record button. It's red, letting you know it's recording right now. If I press the stop button, then it's done recording. And I have my first recorded action. So if I were to revert this file, meaning don't do all that I just did, take it all the way back, take it off, no extra layers, nothing done, and then I were to click on that action and hit play, here's where we test it to see if it actually works. Press play, boom. It's as quick as it can do it. No dialog boxes, no bringing up, no scaling that. It just did it as quickly as your computer can do it. So that's what makes Actions so nice, is because it can do all of those steps as quickly as your computer can. And of course, it also flattened it down, so I don't have the extra layer. If I did want the extra layer, I would turn that step off. Now, just because we're in the process of learning Actions and we got a little extra time here, let's go ahead and revert that one more time. And I do want to twirl down, and you'll notice that all the steps are here and all of the steps are checked. So that means that it will perform each step. But let's say I don't want it to flatten it. Then I can uncheck that step and say, don't perform that step. And it's even alerting me in red, letting me know that, hey, you don't have all your steps enabled. So, just be warned that it's not going to do everything you told it to do when you recorded it. So now if I press play, it will do all except the flatten. So I still have the extra layer. And now if that's all I needed it to do, I'm done. Because I ran the 2 steps instead of all 3. How many steps can your actions have? There is as many as you want. Was this action in button mode? No, it wasn't. That's why I had to select it and then click play. If it were in button mode, here, let's revert the file. And by the way, you can't do things like uncheck a step while you're in button mode because it's just a button. So if I wanted to put this back in button mode, then it would look like this. I'd have to go down and find it. There it is, lower stamp. Okay, so now it's just the button. So if I click it, boom, it just does it. So that's how button mode works. You just click the button. You don't have to select it and click play. It just does it. All right. Okay, that's a good question. So Alzer Graphic Designer is asking, how do I create an action to save images as a JPEG, but ask each folder, each time where to save it? Or how do I interact with the action? I want it to do a bunch of things, but when it gets to a certain step, I want to tell it where or what or how to do that one step. So that's a good question. So let's go ahead and revert out of this again. And let's go back out of button mode. Let's go back to that action where it's still enabled. And now let's say that I want to do if I tell it to do a save, it's going to save it back to where it was. But let's say I want to record a save as step. That's one way to do it. So if I just press record, because I'm on the same action, and what I want to do is I want to add on to this action with a new step. I want to record a new step. And hello, Ulyss from Turkey, how are you? All right, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just hit record. And so now it's back to recording again. So it's waiting for me to do the next thing. So now I can go ahead and do a save as. And I'm going to save this to the desktop for now. And hit save. Because you have to complete the step. You can't just bring up save as and hit cancel and think that will do it, because you haven't done it. So you have to complete the step. So we'll do the save as. And boom, now it's done. It's doing a save actually. And now that's recorded and I can stop. So now at this point, it's recorded that additional step that someone was asking about. It's recorded the save. And if I don't do anything now, it's going to always save it to my desktop. That's where the path is right now. But let's say I want to do the next thing. I want to do the interacting and tell it where. Then what I can do is there's a box next to the checkbox, this little empty box here. That's toggle the dialog box on or off for a particular step. You can do this for any steps you want. So now when I run this action, we'll select the action and we'll click play. Watch what happens. It's going to do all the steps, and then it's going to bring up the dialog box. And that's where you can now tell it where to save it and save it as a JPEG. So if you want to interact with it every time, you can enable that box, and for that step, when it runs all the way down, it gets to that step, it will ask you where to save it and what format if you want to save it in. The other way to save it in a specific spot, since you asked as a JPEG, you can go up to your file menu and you can do an export as, and if you change your export preferences to JPEG, so let's do that. Let's change it to JPEG. That's a fairly new command in Photoshop CC. We can go up to export as and record that step, because that's always going to ask where. If you tell it to ask where, it's going to export. So here, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do export as. What I meant to do was quick export as JPEG. If I do quick export as JPEG, that's always going to ask me where. So you got both ways of doing it. Since you said JPEG, I would just do the quick export as JPEG, because then it's going to always ask me where anyway. Or you can do the save as if you want to pick the format and the location every single time. All right. Yeah, that is a cool addition. Okay, so that's how we create an action. Now I'm going to get rid of this last step. I'm going to get rid of the save step because we just did that as an example. So just trash just one selected step. So we got the action back in place the way I had it. All right, let's talk about conditional actions, which is also fairly new. Let me go ahead and revert this back. Okay, what's a conditional action? A conditional action is just that. It's like an if-then. If a certain condition exists, great, do it this way. If not, do it this way. So, for example, that action might work great, since they're position-based, on portrait images. But what if I have landscape images where it's now going to put the watermark maybe in the lower left, not in the lower left corner, but more towards the middle of the image? Or maybe for landscape images, for whatever reason, I like my watermark on the right-hand side. Whatever the case may be. What we can do is record a separate action first. So we have this TW stamp lower left corner. Let's record a new action. And we're going to call this one TW stamp lower right. So now we'll have two actions to pick from. So let's do that. So now it's recording. We'll just do the same steps. File place, place embedded. Go get that same stamp that we used before. It's right there, and place it, and move it, and scale it. And we could also size it by an exact number. So if you wanted a precise percentage, just like so it would be the exact same size as the other one, then you would do that as well. All right, so now that I got it in place, it's doing the place, and then we're going to go ahead and set the opacity of it to 70%, just like the other one. And flatten. I think that's what we did in the other one. So we're going to flatten as well. All right, so now we're done recording the steps for the second action. So now we have two actions. Put it in the lower left corner or put it in the lower right corner. And now what I want that to depend on, the condition, is whether it's portrait or landscape. For all my portraits, I want it in the lower left corner. For all my landscapes, I want it in the lower right corner. So your choice. All right, so let's go ahead and revert this one as well, because we just wanted to test it. And now we're going to create one more new action. Actually, I think I have to do this one from the flyout menu. So we're going to do a new insert conditional. I think that is it. Oh, yes or no? Yes, insert conditional. So, actually, no, that's not it. I want to do a new condition. I want to do a new action, I think it is. I thought there was just a separate one for new conditional action, but I guess not. Okay, so we're just going to call this one TW stamp portrait or landscape. All right, so now we've got that in place. We'll go ahead and record it. And now at this point, we're going to go ahead and insert the condition. Insert conditional. And so now, we only need the one condition, because if it's one, it will do it. If it's not, it'll do the opposite. So if the document is landscape, or if the document, I don't think there even is one for portrait, because it's either one or the other. So if the document is landscape or square, you have your choice of those. So I'm going to say if the document is landscape, then we want to do the lower right corner. Else, do the lower left corner. That's it. You could maybe put in one as if it's square. But that would be it. It's either landscape. If not, then that means it's something else, then do the other one. So now we click OK and we stop. That's all the action needs. So here, let me bring up both kinds of images and play the same action and see what happens. So let me go ahead and open up the other one. Oh, I already have it open. All right, so now, same action. I'm not going to change action. I'm just going to play it on both images. So on the portrait image, play. Puts it in the lower left corner. On the landscape image, play, puts it in the lower right corner. So it knows. If I go ahead and open up a different portrait image, because you don't believe me, let's go ahead and open up a different one. There's a different portrait image. Play, puts it in the lower left corner. Let's open up a different landscape image. Puts it in let's play it first. Puts it in the lower right corner. So it knows, based on the orientation of the image, which of the two actions to run. So conditional got added in a previous version of Photoshop CC. So I think it was like a year or so ago. Maybe, no, it was 2-3 years ago now. So, wow, time flies. All right, so that's actions, conditional actions, button mode, skipping steps, and bringing up the dialog box for a particular step where you want it to do you want to take control over it at that step. All right, next. How do I run the actions in batch? Meaning, I don't want to have to sit here and opening up each image and closing each image to do all of those, to click play, 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 play. Maybe I've got to do this 500 times. Maybe I've got to do it on 1,000 images. I don't want to sit here having to do that every single time. So let's close all of these. Don't save. Close, don't save. Close, don't save. And close, don't save. All right, let me go back to the folder to make sure they are still intact. And they should not have any watermarks on them. They don't. Good. All right, so those 4 now don't have any watermarks on them. So I want to run that action on all 4 of those, but I don't want to have to do it manually, because Photoshop can do that for me. I don't want to have to touch that folder. So more than once to set it up. So what I'm going to do is go to my file menu, And under the File menu, now that you've got your action built, you want to go to Automate, and you want to go to Batch. When you go to File, Automate, Batch, that will allow you to control every single aspect of it. So where do I want to do it? What do I want to play? From the live stream set, I want to play the TW Stamp Portrait or Landscape. It even remembered the last one I made. What folder do I want to play this on? I want to go grab the folder. The folder is, here, I know where the folder is. I'll just show it to you. It's right there. All right, that's the folder I want. Choose it. Now, when it's done doing all of those, I want it to put the results in a different folder. That way it's not messing up my originals. So choose, and I'm going to get out of this folder and say that we're going to put them in this folder that's conditional done, which is empty right now. Choose. All right, so now, how do I want it to name them when it's done? I want it to name them. I want to override and do a save as. I want to name them the original document name, but I want to put the word done on it, or dash done. All right, and then the extension. And we'll pick the file extension from the list. Okay, so go to this folder, open up everything, include subfolders if I want, suppress warnings and all that stuff. Yep, suppress file open dialog boxes if there were any. Then, when it's done running that action, put them in this folder, use save as, but use my file naming system here. And I don't need any serial numbers or anything, so that's all good. Okay, so click OK, and it should do it. Wow, that was fast. Let's see if it actually did them all that quickly. No, it couldn't have done them that quickly. No, it didn't do it. All right, so I think there's one more thing I should have done. I told it to do all of those, but I didn't tell it in my action to do the save. So let's go back and fix that. I always forget that one step. Let's go back to my action. So basically it just did them all and then closed them all without saving, because I told it to override my save command, which didn't exist. So let's go back to that action, and let's go ahead and go to this one, flatten image. Actually, I have an image open to do this. So that was my bad, sorry about that. All right, and we'll just say that we want to record, and we want to do that save step. Or actually, we can just do save. Oh, save as, okay, fine. Save as, because we didn't do anything, hang on. And I can't do it now. All right, let me stop the recording. Let's run it first. All right, play it first. Okay, now we can do the save as we record that step. Can't save something if you haven't changed it. All right, now we do the save, done, and close the action. Stop the action, I mean. Okay, good. And last but not least, same thing on this one. Even though it's going to put it in the wrong spot, we can do it just this one time. Play it. Yep, wrong spot. That's okay. And add the save command. Save. All right. Okay, so now we should be good. And stop recording. Because the conditional one doesn't have to change because it's using those other two actions. Okay, let's close that one, which that one image is already screwed up, so let's replace it. That's the one with, nope, it's this one with two watermarks on it. Which one is it? That one with two watermarks on it. Okay, so let's get rid of 115. And I got a backup copy up here. Let's put 115 back in. All right. Now let's run the batch and see if I did it right this time. Batch, automate, batch. Okay, yes, get them from that folder, yes. I shouldn't have to override. If I just put them in the right folder now, it should just do it. It won't name them in the same way, but it should put them in that folder. Let's see if that works. Click OK. All right, so I do a couple that time. And now they're all here. Okay, and it did do the naming. Great. All right, so now it put the ones in the folder with the right name, but it didn't do the right condition. Did I pick the right one? Hold on, I wasn't looking. That could be me. It worked, sort of. Batch. I didn't pick the right one, so wrong action. All right, let's do that one instead, and now let's go get these out of here one last time. I wasn't paying attention, and it defaulted to the last one I worked on. Let's go get the backup ones one more time, and start. Okay, last time. So we got the right action this time. We got the right commands, put them in the right folder, the right name, and OK. Done. All right, and now if we go to the conditional done, in the right spot, in the right spot, in the right spot, in the right spot, all done. So other than pilot error on my part, it does work perfectly. So that was just 4 images. It could have been 40, it could have been 400, it could have been 4,000, it could have been 40,000. Your machine may be sitting there a while with 40,000 images opening and saving them and closing them, but it would do it. And that's the point of doing an action. Now let's take it up a notch. Let's say that I don't want to have to run that from Photoshop every single time. I don't want to have to go to that batch command. I don't want to have to do that every single time. Let's do, because I rarely, as you can see by my experience, I rarely do the batch feature. I do it a different way. I do it from what's called a droplet. All right, so let's go ahead and close or get rid of these. We'll go back and use the backups again. So we're going to get rid of the ones we just did. We're going to go ahead and put the backups back in the start folder. So these are the ones that aren't done. So they have no watermarks on them, right? Okay, so now we're going to do it one more way. We're going to go up to the Automate menu, and we're going to come down and say Create Droplet. Now, what a droplet does is it's just like batch. So it's got the same exact things. Where do you want to save the droplet? So first of all, we're going to save it out onto that same folder, maybe. Conditional Actions. Yeah, we'll put it in that folder. All right, and we're going to call this action Watermark Me Live, because we're live streaming. All right, we'll save it there. Now, what do I want it to do? I want it to do the one with the stamp, suppress any open dialog or open dialog boxes. We're using the right action. We're going to put them in the folder, the done folder, just like we did before. And we're going to give it the name we gave it before, which is when you're done, mark them done, and put an extension on the end of it, whatever extension it should be. Okay, so that's what the file name will look like, by the way, when it's done. All right, so now when I say OK, what that's going to do is not going to process the images. What it's going to do instead is create the droplet. So when I go to my computer, on my operating system, there's the actual droplet right there. So this droplet, it can exist anywhere on your file system. I can put it on the desktop. I can put it in a folder like I'm doing now, anywhere I want. And whenever I drag and drop images on it, it will just do it. So that way, I don't have to always go to Photoshop and set up that batch command for every single time I want to do a batch. If I'm going to do 5 different batch commands on a regular basis, it will be a pain in the neck having to go change that dialog box every single time. This way, all those settings that I just did are saved in that droplet. So if I were to go to, let's go back out to the standard view there. If I were to take all these images and drag them on top of the droplet, and well, here, before we do that, the done is twirled down. Okay, good. Let's drag them on top of the droplet and watch the done icon. So it's building those images as we speak into the done folder with the appropriate watermarks. So that's how I normally do it. All you have to do is create the action, then go to Automate and create it as a droplet. And then every time you drop a file on that action, or that droplet, I should just say, it'll perform that action and put the files wherever you told it to do. So again, I could drop random files whenever I want to be watermarked and saved to that spot. All right, so actions, batch actions, conditional actions, droplets, what else? All right, let's go on. And let me clear this up for the next time I want to do this demo. Let's get rid of these one more time. Actually, these should be okay. Yeah, oh, no, they're not. Let's get rid of these one more time. And let's put the backups in there one more time. Okay, so now that we've got this all set and ready to go, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about automating Photoshop with, I'll show you one more before we go on to the main thing I want to show you today. Let's jump in. We got a few more minutes. Let's open up a random image here. I just want to point out that in addition to all the stuff in the Actions panel, and in addition to all the things under the Automate menu, including Batch, Create Droplet, and there's some other actions here for people that need to automate certain things, like building a contact sheet. That's another way to automate. So let me just show you that one real quick. So let's say that, let's close this image because it's kind of low res. Let's say that I want to build a contact sheet really quick of several images. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I just opened up 8 images, 9, 10, and 11, 12. Okay, I got 12 images open in Photoshop right now, and what I love to do is take all 12 of those images, put them on one page, and build a contact sheet out of them. And I use this all the time for creating, not contact sheets, but mainly for creating like backdrops. One of the backdrops I use for my live streams when I was doing my Adobe stock ones, had a bunch of stock images behind it. I built that using this feature. So how do you do it? You got your images open, automate. You don't have to open them, but they were in my library, so that's why I did it. So contact sheet. If you didn't use the open documents, you can actually go to a folder and tell it which folder, or go to the files and find the files that way. But since mine were in a library, I had to open them up first. So take the 12 selected open documents and then build a new document based on whatever you put here. So since I was doing it for video, I did 1080p, 1920 by 1080, 72 pixels per inch. Don't flatten the layers because I may want to do something with the layers. And then how do you want them built? I want it to be across first, use auto spacing, give me 4 columns across, and what did we do? 12, we did 3, so that'd be, or we did 12 images, so that'd be 3 rows. And if I wanted it to even put the file names under them, I could. So whatever font and size, I want it to put the actual file names under each image, I could do that as well. So now when I say okay, I just sit back and let it build a new document based on what I just told it to do. And there it is. So I've still got 12 images open, but now I've got a 13th new untitled document open, or a contact sheet document 1 document open that has everything in it. So the only difference when I did it for my live stream backdrop, I made sure the images were all the same aspect ratio so you didn't have these uneven spots. And then for the background, I just set the background layer to black so that it looked that way. That's how I did it. So, contact sheets aren't just for contact sheets. You can use them to build images, multiple images up on a page for other things. All right, so now with that said, we're going to close all these. I don't need them. That was just another form of automation. And now that we've got all those closed, let's go ahead and I use contact sheets for creating quick mood boards. Yeah, very useful. Awesome. So let's go ahead and do one of my favorite new ways of automating. And this is probably the way that I use just about every day. So if you saw my tweet about this live stream, or you saw me post anything about the live streams recently, the ones with my picture on it, they all kind of come from Photoshop files. And of course, what changes on that Photoshop file every single time is the name of the topic, the event, or I'm sorry, the date, the time, date, time, topic. That's it. Okay, so let's go to and the icon. So it depends on which application I'm going to be talking about. So let's, for example, let's do one for tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream is going to be about the Photoshop Retoucher Secret Weapon. So that's what the title is going to be. And of course, it's going to be hosted by me, so that doesn't change. It's going to be tomorrow, Tuesday, May 2nd. It's going to be 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I'll need to change what channels it's going to be on. So it's going to be on the Facebook Creative Cloud page. Now, you notice that this is really for artboards. Photoshop has an artboard feature. And these artboards are for different size social media. So for example, the two on the top are for Twitter banners. The one in the bottom right is 720p for a YouTube thumbnail, because that's what size they want. This one is a Facebook event cover page, so it's smaller. And they all have their, individual pieces of text and images and so forth and so on. So artboards are really layer groups inside the layers panel. So this is the one for that one. This is the one for the second one, third one, fourth one. And in each side, inside of each one of those layer groups or artboards are all the things that are on it. So for example, I would turn off that text and turn that text on. But I don't want to have to go in and type the title or the subject in for every single time. So what I did was I put the title, the icon for the application I'm going to be talking about, and the the date and time in a library. And that library is, let's see, where are my libraries? My library panel's here. That library is called live streaming. So in my live streaming library, I've got all of these different titles. And there's the one for today, how to automate Photoshop. So if I were to either double click on it here or double click on it in the layers panel, either way, I'm going to bring up that separate document. And this is what it looks like. Now, of course, it's white type on a transparent background, very hard to see. So what I did was just simply put just a color layer behind it so I'd be able to see it while I'm typing, then I turn that layer back off. Let's go ahead and put in tomorrow's text. Tomorrow's text is going to be Photoshop Retoucher's Secret Weapon. Of course, the type's too big. So I have less type this time, or more type this time than I had last time. So okay, that will fit. All right, so now that I got that in there, turn off the color background again, and as soon as I close it and save it, watch what happens to all 4 artboards in the other document. Boom, changed. Now, the one up here needs to be reorganized or rearranged a little bit. Maybe that text needs to come down, or text needs to be a little smaller. But other than that, it changed everything the way it was supposed to. So let me go to that date and time. Let's scale that down a little bit, because I think I did make it too big last time, but that's it. Okay, so now it's tomorrow. So let's go to the date and time, which is also here in the library. And we'll go to date and time, same thing, turn on the background so I can see it. And this is going to be Tuesday, May 2nd, same time. All right, so turn off the color and close it, save it. Boom, updates all the dates all across there, all 4 artboards. And I need all 4 of those graphics exported as PNG files or .pngs. So why would I want to have to go to File and Export either one time and separate them out by artboards, or 4 separate times? So what I'm going to do is, under the File menu, under Generate, there's something called Image Assets. So this is called Photoshop Generator, which is another form of automation. Under Generate, for every document you open in Photoshop, this would be unchecked, because it's unchecked by default. Not everyone needs to generate. So you just go to Generate and turn it on. When you turn it on, nothing's going to happen yet. Nothing's going to happen until you name your layers with file extensions. So each one of these layers is named, whatever they're called, .png or .jpeg or .psd or whatever you want it to be. And it will go ahead and, or I should say ping, JPEG, and GIF, I think are the main ones it works with. All right, so now that I've named those, what it has done while I've been working behind the scenes is it's already exported out those file formats in a folder that's the same name as the Photoshop file right next to the Photoshop file. So all of these have now been updated and exported as ping files automatically every time I make a change. So if I make a change and, for example, I add, let's go add an icon to it. Let's go add, instead of Photoshop, let's say we want to turn on, in my layers panel, I'm going to turn on Illustrator as well. All right, so now I've turned on Illustrator, even though we won't be talking about Illustrator tomorrow, but we'll save it and close it. And of course, it updated all 4, and now it's made 4 new graphics that all have the Illustrator icon. So it's making the change and saving out the files as quickly as your computer can do it. So all 4 files have now been updated with the Illustrator icon. So if I go back to Photoshop and say, oh no, what was I thinking? We're not going to be talking about Illustrator tomorrow. Let's go ahead and turn Illustrator's icon back off, close, save, and update all 4, and it's now output 4 new graphics without the Illustrator logo. So I absolutely love Generator. Generator is one of those things that, once you get used to it, you can't go back. I mean, when these files were originally created, they were actually created as Illustrator files, and I was like, I got to convert them over to Photoshop because I can't live without Generator generating all of these for me automatically. So Generator can also be used, now I'm doing it for layer groups. Generator can be used on individual layers. So for example, and I haven't tried this inside of a layer set, but let's try it. Let's say I needed these CC totems, like just the Photoshop logo itself, as a GIF file. Let's see if it actually does it. It should make a new file. Yep, and it just did it. So that layer now just became a GIF file all by itself. So whenever I change that one icon to whatever it's going to be, so let's turn it back on, turn Illustrator back on, close and save. Now it will make a GIF file in addition to all the other files with just the 2 logos on it. So I use this all the time throughout my workflow because I'm always generating graphics for live streams, for videos, for lower thirds, for blog posts, for all kinds of things like this. And just by naming my layers, what format I want them out in, it will just do it. So if I wanted that to be a GIF and a ping, I could do comma cc totems.png. And so now it's going to give me both files. So here's the ping file and here's the GIF file. If I needed it to be 2 times the size, I can specify the size that I want it to be. So you can do all kinds of things with Generator just by simply changing the name of your layers once you turn Generate back on. So I'll turn that off. It's not going to throw away the files, but I'll go ahead and reset the totem or the logos the way I want them to be. Turn the Illustrator off, close it, save it, and it should generate 4 new files. And oh, it did get rid of it. I didn't think it would. So it got rid of the ones once I told it not. That's new. It didn't used to get rid of them for you. And since I told it not to generate the GIF file anymore, it got rid of it. All right. So that is several ways to automate Photoshop. There are more ways, but those are the ways I use the most. And again, now that I'm done teaching it, I'm going to switch back to button mode. I'm going to stash my my actions panel over here where I always keep it. And now when I want to run an action, I just go to the action I want and click on it, and it will perform that action and get ready to go. Or get me ready to go, I should say. So, cool. I'm glad you guys were here. I hope you learned something. I hope you go take advantage of, yeah, Amy, oh my God, is right. I hope you go take advantage of automating with actions, batch, droplets, scripts, which we didn't talk about. There's also the ability to automate with the library panel and just basically making one change